Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having the opportunity for us to present. It's such an honor. Just a quick introduction of who we are. We are Kengo Kuma and Associates. I'm a partner in charge of the project.
Mark, project manager on the project.
Jens from Malta.
Please excuse us for speaking in English. I practice how to say Skien, and that's how far my Norwegian goes. So. It was back in August that we made the first visit to the site, and we have been introduced to this amazing opportunity to participate in the competition. There are three particular aspects that inspired us. One is the city, the Skien. Its scale, it's the human scale that makes it very appealing, at the same time very accessible and tangible. The approach to the city itself is also something on the journey. You'll be welcomed by the waterfront and lead your way up very gently and slowly to this incredible site next to the house, the Ibsen house. And the park, the trees that has been standing years and years, has a strength and the beauty and the richness that is really an additional value to be able to create a design the quality space, and it's what architecture needs, and always. So that's one. The second is this, the vision of the library. People who work here organize the competitions. It was really inspiring to hear the vision. One thing in particular is that the democratic aspect of the projects, which I believe it could be something common in your culture, but it's something very new to us as I have a Japanese background, and I grew up in Japan. And this kind of a trust by the public, or to the public, the sense of ownership that each one of the people who might have an access 24/7, and this sense of sharing the space is owned by the people who live in the community, is something that is really inspiring for us. In Japan or maybe in France, the sense of security is something that blocks this aspect of the true public nature in such facility. So that's the second that I was quite inspired by as foreigners. And the third is, of course, the Ibsen, how it's interpreted, how it was interpreted by the people who know his life, his writing. Particularly to this aspect of the silver vein, which we took it as the very much one direct interpretations to develop our architectural planning and scheme. So not only how we look at the silver vein as was presented, we thought this spontaneity or the penetrations to the daily life, unexpectedness, these encounters that all of us, would meet in the real life. So it's not a linear path, it's a very non-linear, meandering, it goes up and down, and it goes inside and outside. So this sort of non-linear, these spontaneous encounters as a space, as the experience, is something that we purely extracted from the dialogue that we had with the people at the library. So silver vein as an underlying concept to develop our project. So one thing we had focused on is the flow of people. The current site, it has an amazing park, and of course this Ibsen house that works very well with the park, and it's a destination at the same time. It suggests this spontaneous flow, and we decided to generate the form of architecture and planning that takes in the flow, so it becomes part of the everyday life and part of the daily activities as people at the library is looking into. So that's the current the flow that we consider is quite beautiful and quite interesting. But how do we accentuate this flow? By taking the flow into the library. So we have tried to imagine the two phases of the project. One is, of course, to embrace to the full extent of these beautiful trees in the park and relationship to the Ibsen house. And the other is this a side that it faces to the city side. So it announces itself as the new cultural core. Another aspect is that we need to fully integrate this house to the new library. It's a new couple, as it was explained, that they work hand in hand. So it's inseparable elements. Of course, one is the library to interpret the writings, gain the knowledge, and open for the public. But the house itself, it has that nature by showing it in the theater, the stage. And it's quite natural for us that the full integrations and free flow in and out of the library and the house was a natural part of the planning. So this is the form of the architecture is generated but naturally by tracing the flow that we wanted to achieve and the face that we wanted to show to the garden, the park, and the city side. The second operations that we attempted is to engage the one side of the building, the architecture that is embracing the park, to be very, very low. So we have these low engagements, very human scale, very much to the scale that is inviting and work very well with the park. And second is to peel up this the other side of the roof, so that this announces itself and opens itself, and activity, exposing the activity inside to the side of the city. One thing that we really carefully plan is the multi-axis. To have the axis as many points as possible to trace and take in the flow of people in daily life and special occasion was something that it made us generate this particular form. So as one might see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 aside that you can approach and enter into the new library in the very spontaneous, very natural flow. So as it was very much introduced at the earlier evaluation by the jury member, is the one thing that we had this sort of breakthrough of how to connect the park to the city side. It's by excavating or lowering down gently the soil, the earth level to the city side. So naturally, once you walk through this the path, then you'll be drawn into this stepped landscape that connects and opens to the park. So at the moment, you would take the small staircase and then to reach the park just to walk through. But by this, lowering down the large portion of the park to the level of the streets, then it becomes a natural way to approach to the new park. So the volume of the library is designed in a lift elevation. So the walk-through without going to the library is still possible. So there's many ways to experience the new library and the close connections to the Ibsen house. So this image is one that illustrates the view from the park side and this tunnel and that takes you straight to the city side. And it becomes a new face to the city side. And this effect of how I was illustrating that the architecture starts very low and then it escalates itself. The roof becomes part of the landscape too, that is working very well with the landscaping gesture to create this terracing, stepping down configuration. So the new library of volume is bridging over this tunnel and connections to the city side. The idea is also that to create this level of transparency and openness, so one would feel very much into the scene of the natural setting among the trees, just reading quietly. So the full transparency allows the space to be very much as a part of the park, and park being part of the library. So the way that we imagine the full integration is that not only just at the lower levels, but each level there's a connection to the new library. And this particular perspective is an illustration when you stand on one end of the current house, where it's a car drop-off on an approach. We are extending the long eaves, the roofs, to welcome both. So this becomes the new entrance, that is common entrance, the common approach to both Ibsen House as well as to the Ibsen Library. And you might notice that we are not breaking any part of the facade or compromising the integrity of the architecture of this building, but rather to remain very open and engage in a very delicate, very light manner. So this is just a quick illustration that shows the potential way of using the outdoor, new outdoor design. One is this stepping down, this the lowering of the landscape. This becomes an amphitheater, which would be a beautiful opportunity in a good season or even in the snowy season, that one would imagine the performance taking place at the very lower point of this landscape, and to have our spectators, the audience, sitting on an outdoor amphitheater. And this also visible, the scene is going to be quite visible and engaging once you approach from the city side. And since this library is completely fully open to the outdoor, then the visibility from interior of the library would be available to this performance scene. And of course, the scattering of the pavilions would be potentially a good venue for future events as well. And the roof of this building, we climb up there, and the view from there is just really amazing. So I'll switch to Mark to take you through the plans.
Yeah, so I will walk you through how the program and the shifting paradigm of the libraries today, the library of the future, how inform the plan layout, and of course how Ibsen's writings influence the plan layout. What we have here is, so this is the ground floor. I'll start with the ground floor plane here, where we can see really how the ground floor plane is composed of this open space, open plan layout that really allow to have all this flexibility needed for this type of program required by libraries today. So the flexibility really will allow to have narrow spaces, larger spaces, so compression, decompression. So what we have is here we have the main entrance here connected with the Ibsen house on this side. We have another entrance from this side, and really we see it in blue, the silver vein, how it's running throughout the whole building. Going up to the mezzanine, again we see how we have always this compression, decompression of the spaces, the administration in the existing building in the back. And then if you go down to the basement, so the basement is divided in two different levels. The basement one that will allow the entrance from here for the kids zone, and another entrance from here for the youth. And the same token, we have another entrance from the valley, from the tunnel that brings the landscape down and reconnect to the city. Going down to the basement, we have here, what we have here in the basement too, we have a totally different way of experiencing the space. We have a more cave-like space, and slowly, gradually going down, and then linking the other side of the basement one here. I will go through one by one now with the plans. So this site plan shows how the garden is also reflected in the roofscape, where everything is like working in a homogeneous way. We can see how the shape of the building is really embracing the park on one side and opening up towards the cityscape on this side, and this connection here through the landscape part. And in the third token here, we can see how it's really embracing the Ibsenhuset and making one with the existing house. So the ground floor here, what you can see is how really we have this diverse range of spaces, going from larger gathering spaces, more cozy and more loungy spaces, always overlooking the park on one side, overlooking the city on one side, spaces for performances, and also in the same time we have this semi-outdoor space here that opens up on a terrace overlooking the park. On the main entrance here we have the citizens corner, so this really gives you a flexibility of all the users and a continuous flow. Another entrance is from the north side here that will also link to the bus stop on the other side. Up. This view shows the connection between the indoor space seamlessly with the garden side, the warmth of the material also, the use of timber that will give this warmth to the whole project. This shows the mezzanine here. So the mezzanine is connected in the same time with the administration zone here, that's part of the Ibsenhuset. It's overlooking the ground floor space all around here. So it's always this compression, decompression that works not only horizontally, but works also vertically. Which is really directly related to from Ibsen writings. This shows another view from the indoor spaces, relating also here. What we can see is the main entrance and the connection with Ibsenhuset, the connection here with the park and the bleachers on the outdoor spaces. Again, this warmth, this compression, low space, decompression, higher spaces, and this is the mezzanine here on this side. Going down to basement 1. We can clearly see how it's all interconnected. So like we see how the bleachers going down from the landscape goes in through this tunnel like, exposing an entrance here, another entrance here where we have the urban office. So there's really a diverse ways of entering the buildings, diverse ways of getting lost in the building, but in the same time always knowing how to end up. So this really creates a space for like encounters, the unexpected. On this side here there's like the covered parking zone and the delivery on this side. And then the entrance here on the lower side, what we can see offers this kind of cascading down, more cave-like feel that really contrasts with the ground floor experience. So it's really a variety of experiences, very diverse, with the walls of books and the natural lights always coming in. So this basement 1 have multiple access coming on down from here, going cascading down and going back up to join back again the basement 1 level and the ski street on this side. So again, what you can see here is the diversity of use of spaces, and always we can have these performance spaces that people can really gather and then experience all kind of performances on each floor level. So this gives really a flexibility for each floor users. Again, the view from the other side. This one is looking, going back up. In this section, what you can see here is really how the city is linked through the tunnel towards the part on the Ibsenhuset side. The blurred lines showing the buffer zone, which is the terrace outdoor space, and the park connection. On these sections, what you can see on this side here is really the connection between the existing Ibsenhuset and the new house. On this section here, you can clearly see how like slowly and gradually the roof goes up, where you have a more human scale on one side of the park, and then goes gradually up towards the cityscape and gives like this prominent feel to it.
One thing that I wanted to mention is that the idea of the silver vein, not only to derive or degenerate the planning or the form of the projects, but the program that was given to us as to exhibit the items or the writings or ideas of the Ibsen It exists, we implement it in a way that the bookshelves could be exhibiting items, or the front and back of the bookshelves could have an opportunity for exhibitions. And this kind of both the basement layout and the upper level of the ground floor, we have focused on creating the open plan. So there's no solid partitions in between, but you can see the landscape of the reading areas, as well as the spontaneous lounge space, or being alone, being together, being with the family. So it offers an excellent amount of flexibility in all the spaces that we are composing. So yes, the silver vein, it exists everywhere. It's not that we identify in a specific locations, but the idea of the presence of the Ibsen, it's a continuous vein. So just one thing that I wanted to add.
Helt innledningsvis i prosjektet så lagde vi dette diagrammet som har fulgt oss hele veien gjennom. Det har vært et forsøk på å gjøre om språklige virkemidler i Ibsens verker om til ingredienser som vi kan bruke i arkitekturen. For i Ibsens diktning så menneskets vertikale reise mot det oppnåelige en sentral drivkraft. Og på veien opp så møter karakteren utfordringer som de enten stiger forbi eller som resulterer i et fall. Og denne veien opp og fallet ned har da vært ledende prinsipper i prosjektet vårt. Parknivået representerer da et vertikalt nullpunkt som vannets overflate. Og her har man full oversikt, og blikket leder stadig videre. Og over overflaten så det lyst og grenseløst, og utsikten strekker seg mot horisonten. Målet oppover helt tiden synlig, men taket strekker seg helt tiden videre. Og i det går opp for en at man ikke kan oppnå toppen, komme seg opp til toppen, så åpenbarer uendeligheten under seg. Under overflaten det mørkere og trangere, og det ingen tvil om at man i underverdenen. Men stedvis så rettes blikket opp mot lyset, overflaten og Trekrone.